No, it's not the holiday season, and this launch took me by complete surprise. Hourglass just released two ambient lighting edit palettes in Blush and Glow and Sculpt and Set. And yesterday, I will be giving you my full review, demo, everything filmed in natural light, such as which shades are repeats, which are not, limited edition, why they are here right in the middle of the year. I had to pick up both of them. It's not about collecting them, it's about that I review makeup, and that's what we're going to be doing today. I will be leaving all the details where to get them on the description box below, because a lot of you had been asking me if these will be available at other retailers. Perhaps it's not 100% sure. It seems like for right now they are limited edition, and like I said, they appear out of nowhere on the Hourglass website. But once again, if I find them anywhere else, I will be leaving all those details on the description box below. The links will be there and whatnot. So honestly, I wasn't really excited. I saw them and I'm like, oh, okay. Because these are very different from your typical face palettes. They're typical face palettes. You get some setting powders, some diffusing powders, a blush, a highlighter, a bronzer, or two blushes, and so forth. But these ones are very different than the usual. So let's go first with the Ambient Lighting Edit Blush and Glow. And let me tell you, if you are to see them in person, they are gorgeous, gorgeous. Look at this baby. Isn't this stunning? It is beautiful. Now, I'm gonna make sure to give it to you from the get-go for both palettes. These are repeated shades. Now, most of them are not existing on their permanent line, except for a few that they are their best sellers. But these are mostly shades that they were limited edition with their previous palettes, but they are repeated and kind of like mixing. Like, for example, this palette contains 3 of the shades from the Butterfly face palette for the holiday season of last year. They are here. And then the other ones are from the Ghost palette. This is one of my favorite blushes. So there's a lot of repetition right here. But that being said, I do not mind it. And why I say that? Because if I was the regular consumer, if I was the regular customer that would just decide to, hey, you know, I like the look of this palette, I'm intrigued about it, and then I buy it, I use it. Also, the shelf life of these palettes is supposed to be 12 months, and this is not to go and defend on Hourglass. But you know, in business perspective, if your product says that the expiration is in 12 months after opening, it is your customer decision if they decide to keep it for years. So again, it's not in defense of Hourglass, but what I'm trying to say is sometimes we have to balance, right? And really check these reviews, watch these type of reviews so you can see how the palette performs, and then, you know, make your decision. Let me show you the Sculpt and Set palette. Also stunning. By this time, I have already uploaded a reel with all the details of this palette, but this is also gorgeous. This deeper shade that has a little bit of a reddish undertone is on the I think it's an ambient. All these names are the same, and this is something that I get upset with Hourglass. The names are so long, the names are so repetitive, ambient, strobe, lighting, etc. It's a little bit confusing, but anyhow, there is a palette that has just 3 shades. This shade is in there, this shade is a repeat, this shade is a repeat too. This is 2 of their best sellers. So friends, what should we do right here? But just apply it to the face, see how they perform, and kind of like take it from there. Let me show them to you side by side. And by the way, if you're new here, I do film in natural light in front of a window. I don't have any other artificial lighting. But first, let's go for swatches. Oh, this is just jaw-dropping. Okay, so the first shade is Strobe Powder Incandescent Strobe Light. So these we have seen it before. Then we have here Soft Flash, which is a blush. Really nice and like deep rose with some warmth to it. The next shade is Metallic Strobe Powder in Celestial Strobe Light. And here we have Mood Flash, which is gorgeous. And this is more of like a muted mauve tone. Champagne Strobe Light, which is a metallic strobe powder, which is a highlighter. And then this shade is Sunset Glow, which is a blush. In terms of the blushes, the difference, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. This one is kind of like an antique rose. This one is more of like a mauve kind of blush. And then this one is more of like a warm corally tone, but also deep, which I think that's fantastic because it could cater for multiple skin tones. Now let's go for the Sculpt and Set. These two are existing powders. So we have here Dim Light, which is a finishing powder, Diffuse Light, which is also a finishing powder, Filtered Light, which is also a finishing powder. I mean, like obvious, like set. So these are the three first shades. This one, you can really brighten it up some areas. This one has a little bit more of like a warm tone, kind of like for someone that has a light to medium skin tone like myself. And then this shade is also for, I will say, light to medium skin tone. Perhaps this one will cater medium to 10, I will say. Where I'm going to swatch it. I'm trying to avoid my hand. If you're new here, I suffered nerve injury on this hand, so it's still recovering. Now these are hard to swatch because these are setting powders or finishing powders. So you're gonna be perhaps not even able to see them. I just swatched them here. You can barely see them, I'm sure. And that's the beauty of the Hourglass finishing powder setting powders, that they have such a delicate finish, unperceptible to the eye, but at the end they give this soft focus effect. Okay, let's go now for the bronzer in Golden Bronze Light. This is gorgeous. These to warm up all over the face is fantastic. Then we have a metallic strobe powder, which in Celestial Strobe Light. Do you see all the names? So this is the highlighter that will give you the most impact in terms of being a true highlighter. And then the last shade will be the finishing powder in Transcendent Light. And the beautiful thing about this powder is that you can use it depending on your skin tone as a bronzer or even as a finishing powder. So there you have it. I know this Sculpt and Set palette. You're like, so what's that? But I think you're gonna be able to appreciate everything once it's all applied on the face. Going with the Sculpt and Set palette, I'm gonna go to the middle shade, which is Diffuse Light. And because it's the lighter shade, I'm gonna apply it underneath my eye area just to brighten it up this area here. Also set my concealer. I haven't used any other powders. I just have basically foundation, concealer, and lipstick on, which I will make sure to leave all those details also in the description box below. So with this powder, this one right here, you're able to give that brightening effect wherever you need to, wherever you want to bring forward your face. Now let's go with Dim Light, which is one of the best sellers from Hourglass, and I'm using an Hourglass double-ended brush too. And I'm gonna take this shade and applying it right here on my enlarged pores. I'm gonna set this area, and as you can tell, it just gives this very soft focus, blur kind of effect. Going with the Ambient Blush and Glow palette, I'm going to go to Soft Flash and a REPHR number 4 brush. And I'm taking this shade and I'm going to apply it right here on the front of the cheek. And as you can tell, I'm not taking it all the way up here because I'm going to do something else just to demo all the, all the different powders on these palettes. Also with another REPHR 04 brush, this one is completely clean. Now I'm gonna go to this other blush in Sunset Glow. Now this seems to have a little bit more pigment. And this blush in particular has more of like a matte kind of effect. Not super matte, it's natural. But for example, the first blush that I applied, this one does have more of like a silky kind of finish. On the cheeks, honestly, you cannot see much the difference, right? So that pop, pop. The BK Beauty brush, I'm going to Mood Flash. And now this shade on both of my cheeks, I'm going to take it and diffuse all the way to the temples. Now that you have seen all the blushes in action and the shades, the difference are very minimal. This one is more pinky tone. This one has a little bit more warmth, and then the mauve tone is a little bit more muted, a little bit more of that rosy natural kind of flash. And now with a Sonia G Masterface palette, I'm gonna go to the Incandescent Strobe Light powder. Just gonna grab a little like this, and now I'm gonna buff the blushes. Now you don't need to do all of these, obviously, but I want you to see the finish that it gives to the face. Do you see that subtle glow? It's not a highlighter, but it just gives that a strobe, a little bit of kind of radiance to the skin, like a healthy luminosity, which is not a whole lot. Going back to this blush, and then I'm going to take it just a little bit on my nose, just to complete it. And then back with this brush and the finishing powder, I'm just going to go here and buff it just a little. And it has the most beautiful diffuse effect. Now going with this Hourglass Double-Ended brush, I'm going to go with the bronzer on the Sculpt and Set palette, which is in Golden Bronze Light, and it's this shade over here. Going with the wider side of the brush. And now I'm just going to start bronzing up my face. Now this specific shade has more of like a golden undertone, and it does have more of like a satin finish that translates pretty natural on the skin too. I'm so happy to have my roses here. Do you see them? They are just so gorgeous. My youngest daughter, she just did her first communion, and this is, well, one of the arrangements, and then these are extra flowers for mom. So happy to see roses in the house. I have been going for a lot of tulips. I cannot wait for peonies to become available soon, though. Soon, peonies are one of my favorite flowers. This looks just so natural. I like to use bronzer also on my nose just to mimic a little bit of that natural tan that we get during the summertime. With a REPHR 05 brush, I'm going to be using that Transcendent Light shade, which is a finishing powder for deeper complexions, but I'm going to use it a little bit, kind of like a contour shade, although it doesn't have that grayish or neutral kind of undertone. It's rather has a reddish undertone, but I want to use it. And if I have a palette, I need to use the whole thing. So I'm going to take it and applying it below the cheekbone. It looks fantastic too. You see it's defining everything. I'm going to go underneath my jawline too. A little bit up top here. I have a total now of 3 highlighters to try. Which one to go first with? Okay, I think I'm going to go first with the Blush and Glow palette. And let's just give them a go, I guess. Oh, all right. I think I'm gonna go first with this shade. And I'm just gonna take it. Okay, let's do this. Let's do bridge of the nose, tip of the nose. And this has a beautiful um, gold undertone, but that doesn't lean yellow. To the champagne strobe light, what I have noticed though is that there is a little bit of fallout from this blush on top of here. So I'm avoiding that area and I'm going to use it on this cheek. Champagne in tone, very pretty, easy to blend. With a BK Beauty 108 brush, I'm going to go to the Celestial Strobe Light Metallic Strobe Powder. This shade over here from the Sculpt and Set palette. So confusing. Just make it easier for us. So I'm going to take this and now I'm going to apply it on this side of the face. Wow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's quite a bit. That's very metallic-y and honestly not really to my taste. This is more to my taste, but even more so this shade over here. So that means that a little goes a long way. This is just a little too much for me. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna go with a clean Sonia G Master Face brush and I'm gonna take shade, which is the finishing powder in Filter Light. And because it's a finishing powder and it's more onto the matte side, I just wanna go ahead and use it and start buffing my entire face and see if I can tone this down. I like the idea that it says it's kind of like a filter, right? And I also like the name. It says that it's filtered, so hopefully we'll filter this a little more. You see, this one is more of like a natural kind of finish, not even satin, and it's helping a lot at filtering this area right here that to me at the beginning looked like just a little too much. And it does give a filter effect. So then with the Sculpt and Set palette, I'm going to go to this shade and I'm going to apply it all over the eyelid. Now I'm going to take this shade and I'm going to apply it on the outer third of the eyelid. These shades on the eyelids, they look fantastic. They look fabulous. With a Sonia G Builder Pro going into the Blush and Glow palette, I'm going to go to this more muted tone and I'm going to apply it kind of like in the center and just diffusing it with the bronze tone. And then I'm just going to dust it a little bit towards the front. With a Sonia G Mini Booster, going back to the Sculpt and Set palette. And I'm going to the deeper shade and I'm going to take it on the outer V. BK Beauty 204 brush and taking this shade and I'm going to apply it on my lower lash line. Now I'm going to this shade just with my finger and I'm just going to tap it right on the center of my eyelid. Sonia G Flat Definer, the deepest shade, taking it on my lower lash line but towards the end and just defining this area a little bit more. With a REPHR number 03 brush, I'm going to go to this shade and I'm going to apply it on my inner corner and also on my brow bone. And if you want to even intensify it more, then you go with this shade. Apply it here. You see, it just makes it even more brighter. And there you have it, my friends. This is the final look using both of the palettes. I think in terms of the quality and the finish, chef's kiss. I mean, my face looks like porcelain, filtered, elegant, not overly done. You cannot see where my makeup starts, where it ends. Everything is just completely diffused, completely filtered, no harsh lines, nothing. So that's the beauty about these face palettes from Hourglass, that regardless of the different color stories or selections, they always have this very impressive kind of finish that is, again, diffuse, like an aura effect, like you have been kissed by a goddess. That's how it feels like. That is what Hourglass provides, this soft focus effect. This is something that honestly is very hard to find in the industry from other products, and is one thing that Hourglass brought to the table many years ago when nobody really was doing this kind of soft focus filtered effect that looks just so natural and so perfect. I mean, to me, if somebody was to give me one of these palettes, I will be like over the moon, because seeing the results is fantastic. Do I need both of them? No, not necessarily. I mean, if you are a blush lover, then go with this one. And if you don't care about any of the bronzers in here because you feel like, I don't know if it will go well with my skin tone and whatnot, it's up to you which one you want to get. I think if anything, not really a complaint, but I feel like these two blushes at the end on the face, these two right here, they look too much alike. The difference is just very subtle. Obviously, it's not that you're going to use both blushes every time, because this blush has a little bit of that satiny finish, while this one is a natural matte finish. So it's going to depend on which type of vibe you're going for, right? Same thing with this highlighter. The two highlighters are different. This one is more of not super cool, but more of like a neutral kind of highlighter. This one is more of like a golden highlighter. So obviously that's gonna set a little bit the mood of like, okay, this is the outcome that I want to achieve. This shade is spectacular. Is that perfect rosy, almost mauve tone that looks fantastic in many skin tones. And this one right here is just gonna diffuse everything if you decide to use whatever it is the case. It's kind of like to buff and diffuse your makeup, which I feel like is stunning, absolutely stunning. But if it was me personally, I wish they could have done two different kind of tones. So that is my only thing. I mean, obviously this is a lighter shade than this one, but like I said, it would have been really nice to see a different tone of blush. That's all. But in general, I mean, as you can tell, they are all different. They all look beautiful and whatnot. Now, this palette, I love this palette so much. I love so much this palette. You have this gorgeous highlighter that I think is gonna look beautiful on every skin tone. I love these powders here. I know they are repetitive, but they are solid. We all know why. They are bestseller. And I adore this filtered light powder. It's just, fantastic. It's just give your face a filter effect that is just wonderful, unifies absolutely everything in the most unique and beautiful way. Oh my gosh, I'm just so impressed. This is an OG, one of my favorite bronzers, and this one, as you were able to tell, using the right tool, using the right size, using the right amount, you can use it even as sculpting your face without really quote unquote doing a full contour effect, and it will look just fantastic your face. So yes, highly recommend these palettes if you are looking for them. If you're not a person that is constantly buying these face palettes from Hourglass, perhaps you skip the ones from last year or the year before, then you're not going to have so many repetitive shades. And if you like the color story, if you feel very attracted to it, I would say, I mean, performance is fantastic. I think it all depends on like, okay, do I collect these palettes? Now, if you're a collector of every single palette of Hourglass and you're just doing it for the fun of it, I'm sure you're going to get them no matter what. But if you're not a collector, you're going to find some of the shades that are very new to your collection, unless again you had bought that last few years the different palettes. So anyhow, my friends, I feel that performance is fantastic. Will I recommend them? Yes, I recommend them for the finish, the outcome, look. Again, if you have all of these shades, whether in different type of palettes, and you're still able to use them, that they have not gone bad, then obviously you don't need them all. But if you like the color stories, I mean, the look, the outcome, I'm vibing with it. It's fantastic. This will give you the perfect palette for summertime. You're gonna need just, a couple different blushes to play around with it, but this is like precious. Now this one is, if for those blush lovers. I mean, what can I tell you? Hourglass knows how to do these babies. I feel that I'm gonna end up this video the same way that I ended up the video where I review the holiday palettes from Hourglass. And that is that I wish that they will give us the opportunity to create our own palettes. Even if they are not the 6 pound palettes, if they do not want to do that, they think that it's gonna be too much of a hassle, or they want to put perhaps two like permanent shades in there and then you play with other 4 different shades. I wish in a way that they will give us that opportunity, perhaps on their 3 pound palettes, to customize ourselves and for them to focus on expanding their permanent shades, to give us more shades of blushes, more shades of bronzers, which they have been doing so. And I don't want for Hourglass obviously to be one of those brands that they are constantly overwhelming us with so many different launches, because that's not Hourglass. Hourglass continuously goes slowly with their launches, and I enjoy that and I appreciate that for sure. But in terms of doing these palettes, I just wish they would give us the opportunity, or even a 4 pound palette, for us to be able during the holiday season for a limited time only. I don't know, 2 weeks, that you can actually do your combinations, and they will give us, okay, select from, these 5 different blushes, 5 different bronzers, 5 different highlighters, 5 different, like finishing powders, something along those lines. I would love to see something like that from Hourglass. They are already kind of doing so with their eyeshadows. I think that will be interesting. I think that will be interesting, just very interesting, and perhaps do the same thing that they did for the holiday season. That they have these unique artist-made kind of palettes, something that is collector kind of thing, and for us to be able to just customize our palettes to our likes, to our needs, just once a year for a limited time period, and kind of like your gift for yourself for the holiday season. I feel that that's what I would love to see from Hourglass. I'm never bored with their palettes, but I just wish to have that flexibility, and I just wish to see a little bit more expansion of their shade range, because products are a delight to work with. Okay, my friends, and this makes it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, that you find it helpful. I didn't want to bore you with a ton of comparisons, because honestly, there's no point. We already know with Hourglass, the names are there. I mean, you know the drill. And that's when at the beginning of my video, I said, well, honestly, the palettes, they have a shelf life of 12 months. So for them as a business, they are thinking, well, if after the 12 months, you want to keep still using these products, even though they are technically expired, that is you. But as I say, and I'm saying, like, if I was Hourglass, which I'm not, these palettes, I bought them with my own money, but as a business, we're just going to launch something new, something different, which is totally valid, totally valid. But anyhow, my friends, I would love to continue the conversation on the comment section down below. While you're leaving that comment, there's something free that you need to do right now, and that is to subscribe to my channel. Make sure you ring that post notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. It will be incredible if we can keep growing our family, both on Instagram and TikTok. If you like this video, super important, please give it a thumbs up, share with family and friends. And if you're not done watching my content, I will be leaving a couple other videos right here that I'm sure you're going to love. Until the next time, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.